Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, President McGuire.
Good afternoon.
Faculty, graduates of the great gold class of 2019, family and friends. It's an honor to speak to you today, and I thank President McGuire for asking me to be here and also for giving me this wonderful honorary degree. I am speaking not just for myself, but for the members of the great blue class of 1969. Graduates, you are our Trinity sisters, and we want to tell you today how proud we are of you and of our alma mater. 50 years ago, we sat where you're sitting, and in 2 weeks, we will return to sacred ground for our 50th reunion. In light of this, it seems only fitting that I talk about Trinity then and now and think about what we've all learned here. In our day, this campus was decidedly different. It had not yet been transformed by the vision of President McGuire and the generosity of alumni into what we see today. Then, instead of the Center for Women and Girls in Sports, we played basketball in the basement of Alumni Hall, where, if you did a layup, you risked a concussion because the ball would ricochet from the ceiling and smash you in the face. Our pool was not the crystalline wonder that exists today, but a tepid trench in the basement of the Science Building, which stood where the beautiful Payton Center stands today. We were required to swim the length of that pool in order to graduate. My roommate senior year did not know how to swim and was terrified that she would not walk at graduation. We told her, look, this is basically a long jump. You're going to get a running start, you're going to leap as far as you can, and you're going to grab for the opposite wall. I think we stuffed her bathing suit with stuff to make her more buoyant. She went for it, and she did it. It wasn't a very big pool, folks. That was sports at Trinity then. We were also admittedly a different crowd. We came from every state in the Union. Some of us were on scholarship, but most of us were the children of privilege. We did not have to struggle to pay tuition, and if we failed to get employed immediately upon graduation, we had Plan P, the parents. We thought we had all the time in the world to figure out what it was we wanted to do with our lives, but the nuns here had a very different idea. They gave themselves 4 years to turn us into women of substance. Their desire to instill in us the values of learning and of service was further galvanized by the events of the time. As Peggy said, while we were here, we witnessed the horrors of the war in Vietnam and the assassinations of Martin Luther King and Robert Kennedy. We stood in the marble corridor and sang "We Shall Overcome" with Sister Mary Hayes, and on the roof of Cooley to watch the city burn around us. We took part in protest marches, as did many of the nuns. One day in our class of existential phenomenology, I can't believe I took existential phenomenology, there was a note posted that said, "Sister, I think it was Helen James, was not going to teach the class that day." We later learned that she had chained herself to the White House fence. They led us by example as well as by words. As a result of our 4 years here, many of us decided to live lives of service. We were encouraged to volunteer, and I volunteered with people with intellectual disabilities at the Kennedy Institute, which is right up the road. The experience began a lifelong love for people with intellectual deficits. They are delightful to be with in so many ways, not the least of which is that they live in the now. They are not agonizing over past decisions, they don't have regrets, and they're not fretting over tomorrow. They're all about today. And that is a great lesson for all of us. Our challenge as their fellow human beings has always been to make each day as meaningful to each person as possible. At Trinity, we were taught to value teaching and learning. And so after graduation, many of us went into the field of education. Some of us were lucky enough to find great mentors, and I was so blessed. Working in DC public schools under the magnificent Viola Jackson taught me everything I needed to know about school leadership. She was smart, brave, and tough, and it didn't hurt that she was stunning. Unfortunately, she had a previously undiagnosed terminal disease, and she died on the first day of school in 1992. I was bereft and at a loss as to what to do next. Her replacement clearly did not want reminders of her hanging around, and I didn't want to be there either. I was wondering what to do when I got a call from a professor at Trinity. He said he was doing a long-range plan for a little school in Arlington that serves students with severe intellectual and multiple disabilities. The school was struggling and needed new leadership, so would I come and see what I thought? The school was in a church basement with 19 students and a budget of $210,000. That was 1993. Today, St. Coletta's is a thriving community with 3 campuses, one in Alexandria, one in Rockville, and our flagship school at 19th and Independence Avenue. We serve nearly 500 people, both children and adults, and we employ full-time 365 individuals with a yearly budget of $23 million. If you are driving east on Independence Avenue, when you look to the left, you will see the Armory and RFK Stadium, and if you look to the right, you will see St. Coletta. The building was named one of the 10 most recent structures you must see in Washington by the Washington Post. It's an architectural wonder conceived by the great Michael Graves. It is one of only 3 of his buildings in the city. Neighbors call it Legos on steroids. At first I was offended, but now I get it. I told Michael I wanted playful, and playful it is. During the process of planning for and building a 100,000 square foot structure from the ground up, we learned new skills, made new friends, and overcame innumerable obstacles. None of this could have been done without the help and support of so many generous people. We needed financial support, and we needed to raise $16 million. We couldn't have done that without our generous friends, many of them from Trinity, and the help of 2 forward-thinking congressmen, Alan Mollahan and Joe Kennedy. We leaned on others all the way. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about what we do at St. Coletta. I will try to be brief and not boring. I'm hoping to inspire some of you who will be teachers to embrace our philosophy of teaching and learning. St. Coletta is a special place because we subscribe to a system of beliefs about all children and their potential for learning. We believe, as do most scholars and researchers who have set out to study the subject, not in the limits and weaknesses of children, but in the surprising and extraordinary strengths that they exhibit. These strengths are linked to an inexhaustible need for self-expression and realization. We can see that in even our most disabled youngsters. At St. Coletta, we insist on seeing our students and adults as competent and capable of making meaning out of their experience, not as a package to be remediated. We believe that children learn best in a natural environment and not in a compartmentalized, skills-oriented approach, which features the teacher as dictator and the child as subject. We believe that pencil pushing and rote learning diminish and insult children. Such tasks are especially inappropriate for children with cognitive disabilities, as they serve only to highlight their weaknesses. Between teaching, thank you. Believers, I love it. Between teaching and learning, we honor the latter. We believe teaching should take a backseat to learning, and that it is the role of the teacher to provide experience-rich projects in which teacher and student are given the opportunity to make meaning together as learners. We agree with such educators as Dewey, Piaget, Pestalozzi, and Montessori, who states that the differences in cognitive styles of children are not attributable to one season of life, but are an objective fact. It is our goal to nurture those differing styles by widening the opportunities for self-expression and self-realization that we present to children. Our philosophy finds its underpinnings in the ideas of Howard Gardner and the work of the Reggio Emilia schools in northern Italy. We understand and agree that no program of instruction can be imported wholesale and expected to work without some modification. We believe that the practice of reflective teaching, where students' work is collected, documented, and constantly discussed and reevaluated, is the best way to know how children learn. We are committed to the training that's necessary to make our staff co-learners and reflective teachers. We are also committed to providing an environment for children that demonstrates our sense of community and our love and respect for them as individuals of immense value. Inclusion in traditional academic settings is inclusion based on our weaknesses. We need to be included based on our strengths. At St. Coletta, we strive to think of ourselves as a community, a group of people growing and learning together. We reject the idea of traditional school where there are teachers and learners in favor of the idea that we're all learning together. We believe that this identity as a community of equals is important to all of us. It is important for persons with intellectual disabilities because they are so often relegated to an inferior position by society. They are the cared for, the ones in need. We are the caregivers and the generous ones. It is important to think of ourselves as equal to those we serve so that we do not miss the important give and take that should happen in every truly human relationship. People with intellectual disabilities have been deprived of giving, and in depriving them, we deprive ourselves of the very valuable things that they have to teach us, lessons about openness and trust. So every day at St. Coletta, we try not to lead the persons that we serve, but to walk beside them hand in hand. For those of you who plan to be teachers, I know that you will be somewhat constrained by the requirements of the jurisdictions in which you teach. There will be pressure to teach to the test. All this happens even when, as educators, we know better. We know that the child should inform the curriculum and the topics to be studied should be derived from what we know about the learner. We need to know our students not in isolation, but in relation to the other students in the class, to their family, to the school community, and to the wider society. Our experience tells us that people learn best by doing. Socrates said, "To be is to do." It is easy to see this based on our own experiences. When presented with something new, we want to try it, not read about it or be told about it. It's through experimentation and trial and error that most people learn best. Why would we think then it would be any different for children? A great proverb says, "Tell me, I forget. Show me, I remember. Involve me, I understand." At St. Coletta, we have the freedom to practice what we think will work best for the individual learner. I like to think that we dwell in a state of possibility. We know that everyone has uncovered potential as we do ourselves. Each day and each season brings with it new chances to try things we have never tried before and to see what the result brings. We see people react to different settings and experiences in ways we didn't think possible. Every day they paint for us another piece of their portrait showing what's possible. Our job and our joy is to discover their potential. We are all on a journey of possibility. You future teachers and all of your graduates, this will be your journey too. Trinity today is physically different than Trinity in my day, but the spirit that inhabits this place and its students is very much the same. The class of 1969 has been so impressed with today's Trinity students, in large part because of your focus and certainty about what you're going to do with your lives. We understand that many of you juggle the demands of school, a job, and family obligations. When we were figuring out our 50th reunion class gift, it became crystal clear to us after talking to President McGuire and today's Trinity students that we did not want our names on brick and mortar. We wanted instead to touch lives. So we decided to invest in you with 69 to the finish line, our initiative that identifies worthy students who are struggling financially in their final 2 years. We want to get them over the finish line. We want to see them sitting where you are sitting. We are so proud of our alma mater and that she chose to focus locally and to give back to this city. Trinity believes in Washington, D.C. and its people. Trinity believes in the more human place the city can become, and Trinity invested in you, trusting that you will make it so. Trinity has made such a difference in my life. Not many people can say that they've had friends for 54 years. It's a great blessing. So my best advice to you today is treasure and sustain the friendships you've made here. And when the time comes in your life, when you have the ability to give back, remember Trinity and all that she has given you and give back to her. Now go forward with all of our best wishes for your future, and always remember, you are our Trinity sisters. Continue to make us proud.
Thank you, Nadine. That was beautiful. We want that text.
Okay.
All right.